about that he's going to run for president, or that he could beat, not that he's going to run, but he could beat Biden or Trump no matter what. No chance that he could lose, but he's obviously not doing it.
If it's just coming down to debates, yeah.
Fair. Well, he could beat Biden, I think. I don't think that's
Trump
the
would
question.
just attack him personally,
Yeah.
which would be awesome.
Who's his running mate if he runs for president?
I think you had the obvious answer, but I think mine actually makes more sense. He's got to team up with the other ESPN powerhouse, Mike Greenberg.
Oh, Greeny.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I could see that.
The diplomat.
He is a diplomat. He's soft-spoken. You know, you're going to hit him hard with Stephen A. and then bring in Greeny back behind and, you know, nice, like, good cop, bad cop
Exactly.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think Kellerman is a good choice. I think sorry, not Kellerman. That would be a terrible choice. Nobody would ever vote for them
anything,
ever.
actually.
No, I think Skip would be his running mate for sure. They just have that charisma that just oozes potential.
Skip's had some memes that have been put out with him in the last couple of days. He's just getting murked all over the internet, which is fair.
He deserves it too, but he does suck too. Stephen A. I think would lose because I think he has some bad takes, and American people wouldn't be thrilled about it.
I do think it's kind of unfair that Skip gets thrown under the bus though for like his high school varsity basketball stats. It's like it's cool for the current players when he's talking ill of them to bag on him for, but at the same time, is it really relevant?
No, but I love it.
Yeah.
If it didn't have to happen, if it had to happen to anybody, it would definitely be Skip.
Yeah.
You guys ready?
Or Stephen A.
Or just anybody else in the
Ready
media.
as we're gonna get.
All right. Countdown from 5,
Not
4,
that I really, I mean, I don't think
3,
the American people really like him.
2.
I don't really like him, but
I don't think most people like him.
hello and welcome back to the Locker Room, your only continuously running sports show in the Spokane market.
Still true.
Still true, and will be true until somebody tells us otherwise. I am
Which
your host,
they probably
Justin,
won't.
which they probably won't because you wouldn't want to mess with our show.
No, you
we
wouldn't.
just have this awesome setup. Also, a couple new pennants for the this show
That are not up because they
can't
would
stick
just
up.
keep
they
falling
kept falling
off.
up. The foam behind us is not the best surface to be sticking things to.
So we got a nice 913 hanging down
if
the
anyone
middle.
has any ideas, some 1913. Oh, you can't see the top, but it is Washington State College back in 1913 before they became WSU. So that's kind of cool.
Were they
Pretty
still
old.
Washington State Cougars? Washington State College Cougars?
I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
I can see why they changed it.
That's a little wordy.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Speaking of colleges, rough day, actually rough week for the world of college football. Every conference is closing down shop and moving on to spring. It sounds like mostly.
I was gonna say no. I think
Not all of them.
Oh, okay.
No, just some of the main ones have already said nope.
The
not gonna do
Pac-12 and the Big Ten. Yeah, no. I got out of my car when I pulled up to the studio, and there's a fire. It's a little smoggy. It's a little hazy. You
Right,
smell it
yeah.
outside, and I'm
Not
like,
great.
okay, things are burning. It's that time of year again. College football is right around the corner, and then
Yeah.
I'm like, ha, psych.
Just kidding.
No, it's not. So the Big Ten and the Pac-12 both opting to postpone instead of cancel their college football seasons to the spring, which brings up a whole nother myriad of issues, problems, topics of conversation. But what do you make of everything that's transpired in the last couple of days?
Also, some big news just about 45 minutes ago, actually, that the Big Sky Conference, so Eastern Montana, they're postponing all of their fall sports and winter sports until the spring of 2021. So that means we already knew about the Big Sky, no Eastern football, but there will be no Eastern basketball either until January 1. Actually, it says spring, but they don't actually have a date at this moment. But it's really rough for. I talked to a guy yesterday about this just in passing about these college athletes that are missing out on opportunities for either advancing their dream or continuing their dream or just living out their childhood dream and being done after college. I mean, Joe Burrow made a really good point that had there not been college football last season,
He might
he'd be
not
a
have-
nobody.
exactly.
He was an
Exactly.
absolute. I mean, he had potential. He had the pedigree, but he had no sort of foundation to build from. And so it's really unfortunate because it's more than just fans. It's more than just money. It's more than just sports. But I mean, there's actual people's livelihoods here that are being affected. When you look at universities, it's also goes back on them where they're not going to have the funds to continue to hire people. Their athletic departments are going to get worse. And it's not. I mean, there's this entire ripple effect from the top down that just gets destroyed.
I mean, yeah, so kind of what you were just mentioning, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs just like people have, across the nation, regardless of what line of work they're in.
Yeah.
But coaches and trainers and faculty members that are, kind of on the bottom tier of the hierarchy that don't have any leverage, they're going to get laid off. And it's also going to be interesting, too. Obviously, Stanford was one of the more notable colleges that came out and kind of rolled back their funding for a lot of their sports. But we're probably going to see a lot of that continue with the Pac-12 and the Big Ten. Just because all of the money that football brings in that is able to be used for, supporting and funding the other sports that don't bring in that money.
And it's not even just like that, but there's the effect of where if your sports teams are better, you have more admissions. I mean, GU's website crashed the week of the Final Four game in 2017. Their website crashed because they had so many people accessing their website. And this isn't gozags.com. This is gonzaga.edu. Crashed because everybody's like, I want to go check out this school. They have a sweet basketball team. I want to go there. And that's the exact. I mean, Alabama. It's the exact same thing. They don't really have a very good. They haven't had a good basketball team since Oladipo. I don't think. Isn't that where he went?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. And
Tom Crean hasn't been there for a while.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't been that good since then. And so their football program is what drives people to go to Alabama. If you're not from Alabama, you don't have a lineage of people who went to Alabama, you're going there for the football. You're going there to be part of this awesome program, even if you are just a student there, or at least the people who care about sports. That's part of the reason. So it's going to be unfortunate because the fall is Saturday college football, Sunday NFL, and your weekends are set. And now it's going to be some college football, maybe. I mean, the SEC, the ACC, Big 12 are all saying, oh, yeah, we're going to play. But do we even know that? They said that they want to. They said that they're going to. But there's a lot of logistics to figure out. And so I'm worried that Saturday is going to become still college football, but you're going to be missing out on a lot of big-time programs. And there's a lot of, Pac-12 directly affects our area because there's going to be no WSU until next year. There's going to be no Eastern until next year. Whitworth football technically I think is still happening. I don't think they've talked about that. But they're not having a football championship. I do know that. So it's rough. It's a rough time to be a college football fan. It's not good.
Well, I think the NFL is probably licking their chops right now because they're probably going to jump on monopolizing these days of the week that college football had previously owned. Whether it's Maction on Tuesday or Thursday nights. Basically, nobody really watches that unless you got nothing better to do or you're just a degenerate gambler. But it's going to be interesting to see if the NFL makes a push to get on whether it's like Friday night games or these Saturday night games just because there are these empty slots if they can cut some sweet deals with the networks and everything. But I bet the NFL is probably not too upset with these recent developments with the Big Ten and the Pac-12. And like you said, we'll see if the SEC, ACC, and Big 12 are even how far they make it along in this process.
It's going to be interesting.
The logistics are going to be seemingly insurmountable, but we'll see.
Well, the NBA has still had zero positive tests moving forward.
Well,
which is so far at least.
I mean, they have a bubble and they have an infrastructure in place.
Really good one so far. They've done. Just to look at that specifically, they've done a killer job with it.
Yeah, they have. You can't say enough good things about the job they've done down there.
And it's been fun. There's been some awesome performances. A lot of guys who are just killing it and putting up numbers that over the course of a full season would be record-breaking. Some of the ones. They're starting to talk about now the MVP of the bubble, and the most obvious one, just based off of the last few days, is Damian Lillard. He's just been pouring in the points for this Blazers team that's pushing for that 8th spot and knocking. They have the. They pushed out the Grizzlies. That is now their 8th spot.
I was going to say, they got the 8th spot right now. So everything as it pertains to that 9th seed in the West is coming down to what happens tonight. So the Spurs, the Grizzlies, and the Suns are all playing. All Memphis has to do to get that 9 seed is win. Yep. Phoenix needs to win, and they need Memphis to lose to leapfrog Memphis in that 9 seed. And then the Spurs need to win, and they need both Phoenix and Memphis to lose. And then the Spurs could even get that. So basically, everything's on the table for each 3 of those teams. Yeah, so it's gonna be a great day of basketball. I was just looking at my phone. I totally forgot that the Celtics are playing. They started at 9:30.
Dude, you're an awesome fan.
I know, yeah. Instead, I'm just doing a sports show with some loser like you. Yeah,
that's fine. It's you can attack me just because I have my Chinese bought Mariners jersey. I don't know, that's not very nice. But hey, this was only like a $15 jersey because I bought a pack of 3. And so it was a killer deal. Now, would I ever wear this to a Mariners game? Not a chance. But would I wear it in front of
a camera?
These clowns watching us? Yeah, all day long.
In front of a 4K camera?
In front of a 4K camera. It's pretty beautiful, isn't it?
Also, okay, so speaking of Lillard absolutely just going off, it's safe to say that there was something that happened with he and a couple other players that happened to play for the Los Angeles Clippers that transpired that might have led to Lillard absolutely
Don't
up.
mess with him, because that was it was some Instagram beef between Paul George, and was it Lou Williams that?
Well, so when they last played, when the Blazers and the Clippers just played, Dame missed 2 consecutive free throws in crunch time, and they were yelling out over on the Clippers bench, Pat Bev and Paul George. Not Dame time, and they were mocking him and all that stuff. And so the next 2 games, he comes out and drops 112 points. And I think in his most recent game, he went 18 of 18 from the free throw line.
Yeah.
And I think in the game before that, I think he only missed 1 after shooting, I think, like 15 or 16 free throws again. So, he's kind of shut them up. But the the Instagram beef back and forth was really good.
And that blew up fast, too. I mean, it was all over.
Well, apparently their families got involved, too, and they had to make amends and actually kind of get involved and settle things down because, family members from each respective party.
Are you kidding me? If I was one of the top players in a sport and I'm arguing with another player, and then my family, let's say my mom or my dad steps in and says, "Come on, guys, let's be nice about this." I didn't hear about that. That's brutal.
No, it's kind of ridiculous.
That kind of ruins it for me.
Well, and who knows? I'm sure Dame, or whether it was Pat Bev or PG, I'm sure they didn't go to their girlfriend or their brother or their sister or their mom and say, "Hey, can you jump into this beef and help me out here?"
I'd like to say yes. I'd like to say I watched Paul George go right up to his girlfriend and say, Dame just roasted me on Instagram. I mean, he's just really tearing into me right now, and the sports media is just rolling on me. And then all of a sudden, she hops on there and starts going, "Dame, come on, man! Why can't we? We're all NBA families here. We're all just here for a good time. PG's hurt by what you said. He's sorry. That's what I like to see. And then consoling Paul George, honey, it's okay. Everything will be all right."
I just love how one-sided it was too, because the fans, the media, and the objectivity all come down on the side of Lillard.
Yeah.
And when he just roasted PG for not being able to stick with the grind and just switching teams when things get hard and everything, it's like.
He has a point, because Dame's been with the Trailblazers his entire career, even though they've been pretty mediocre for most of it. And I mean, he could have left. He could have left so
easily
fast and made a max contract anywhere in the NBA and probably won a championship, because he would have gone to a team. I mean, I bet the Lakers would have liked to have a guard like him running around.
I think any team in the NBA would. Yeah.
Probably.
Safe to say. No, it's interesting because Dame is one of these old-fashioned players, one of the few that we still have in this modern era of basketball, where he has multiple beefs with multiple people.
Yeah.
I mean, he and Westbrook don't like each other. Obviously, there's the thing with he and Paul George now and Pat Beverly. But no, he's as Stephen A. would say, he's a rough rider.
He is. Oh, God, Stephen A. That kind of goes back to our conversation at the beginning. But no, it's true. Dame is and he's also one, I don't remember who tweeted this, but they said that he's probably the best scorer at his height in NBA history. And I mean, he also doesn't fit the modern guard either. He's not that tall, and he's but he's super athletic. Obviously, that's what kind of saves him. But the NBA is fun. The NBA is doing a very good job with their bubble format. But there's one sports organization that's not advancing with that bubble idea, and that's the NFL. And the NFL is we're just going to go and we're going to play. Seattle's going to travel to the East Coast, and we're going to play and we're going to have fun with it. But in reality, they've actually done a pretty good job keeping their players locked down. For instance, the Seahawks have had no positive tests. They had a false positive when John Ursula got a positive test, and he had to quarantine until he got 2 negative tests, or maybe 3. But the NFL as a whole really has done a pretty good job since they've all been back at training camp over the last week or so.
I think they just recently re-agreed upon the testing, which is now going to be every day, I believe, until September.
September 5th, I think, is what it said.
And I'm not sure why you would stop the everyday testing. Why they chose a specific date to kind of roll that back.
I'm not sure.
I don't get that.
I don't know the logistics behind that. If it's money based, if it's availability based, if it's If they're thinking that by that date, if the players continue to stay within their organizations, if that'll slow things down and they won't have to worry about it. But I'm not sure. It's a question that I don't think will ever be answered, and I don't think the NFL or the NFLPA will ever answer exactly why that's the date that they picked and why they even have to have a date for that.
Okay, quick audible right here, because I heard this question and I think it's fascinating.
No,
okay,
all day long.
So do you think that all those defensive players for New England that opted out a couple of weeks ago, do they still decide to opt out if Tom Brady was still there and still their quarterback?
No, not at all. I mean, Brady wouldn't let them. Brady would be like, what? No, you're staying, actually. Yeah, I'm the greatest of all time. Here's all my rings. We're going to stay. We're going to go try to win another one. There's no way. Does that mean that one of the, third-string defensive ends doesn't opt out?
Well,
no.
yeah.
But Patrick Chung,
Hightower,
they're all going to definitely stay. And that's a good question because you look at some of these programs. Now, on the Seahawks again, are you going to have anyone opt out? Obviously, no. But, you have Russell Wilson. You look at the Buccaneers, did they have anyone major opt out? No. You look at the teams that are really going to do something, and they didn't really have anyone opt out. I mean, the Jets, C.J. Mosley was one of the largest names that opted out, and the Jets are garbage.
It's just always a tough time being a Jets fan.
It always
There's
is.
never a good time to be a Jets fan.
It's never a good time to be a Jets fan. If you're a Jets fan, we apologize. You probably should not be a Jets fan. They probably don't deserve you, and you should just don't pick the Seahawks, though. We don't need any more people like that.
I think all the people jumped off the bandwagon, right?
Mostly, I think. I think the Seahawks.
They jumped onto the Warriors bandwagon after Seattle lost
and then now
to New England.
They jumped off the Warriors bandwagon to hop onto the Chiefs. Did that line up right?
I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
Somewhere in there. I think there's no team that has a massive bandwagon right now because the Seahawks were so unique with their energy, their players, their personalities, their fan base being, they have a name. And the Warriors also being just on a different level good than everybody else. There's not really any sort of franchise right now that I think holds that honor. The Seahawks don't have that swag that they used to have. The Warriors obviously are nothing special right now, but there's no team that you look at. I mean, you go sport by sport, but the teams with the best records in each, you look at the NBA, you have the Lakers and the Bucks. You don't have to worry about a bandwagon fan there because LeBron's been there for a couple of years. You look at the NFL, there's no team that's just on a different level right now. You look at baseball, it's baseball. I don't know if you really have bandwagon fans in baseball. Maybe
everybody's a Yankees fan.
Everyone's
That's
a
just like a
Yankees fan.
casual observer of the sport.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the next bandwagon team, here we go, hot take, Baltimore Orioles. Book it.
I actually have a former coworker who was an Orioles fan, and he definitely has struggled with that fandom. But nobody can struggle with it like a Mariners fan, so I don't feel bad for any franchise in the world. Yeah, that's a good point. When I said you shouldn't be a fan of the Jets, I'm a hypocrite because I'm a fan of the Mariners. So
and that's why you don't even spend real money on their jerseys either. You're like, hey, I'll pick up the Walmart edition, call it good.
Not even the Walmart edition. It's even lower than that. I mean, this was shipped from China through some back alleys, essentially. So we'll keep going on the NFL talk here. George Kittle just signed a massive contract this morning. It was rumored over the last few days. But it is a 5-year, $75 million contract with $40 million guaranteed, making him the highest paid tight end in the NFL, actually in NFL history, surpassing, I think, the Chargers tight end.
Antonio Gates?
Yeah.
Hunter Henry?
Antonio Gates, currently the highest paid. No, Hunter Henry, I think, had just over $10 million a year.
Okay, and just making sure Antonio Gates is finally retired, right? Because I feel like we do this every year, and then he comes back after, all their tight ends blow their ACLs out, and it's like, Antonio's still, just chilling on the couch. Let's pick him back up.
I think so, yeah. What's also, definitely. Probably a good thing because he's going to get broken if he continues to play. The deal was first reported by Barstool, breaking some news. Look at that. Barstool is definitely increasing their legitimacy, I think, in the world of sports.
And part of my take just had George on last week or the week before and kind of talking about things.
They're probably like, hey, George, you want to give us a little insight?
No, they were definitely probing for it. He was pretty good, and who deserves it more than George Kittle, though?
Probably nobody. He does look like a crackhead.
He does look like a crackhead. But I love it. It just goes into his whole facade, and just like he has this Joker tattoo that he cites for this different ego that he goes into when he's on the field. And there was that clip last year of him blocking like the defensive back all the way into the end zone and out of the end zone, and he rolls over on him, and he's just laughing hysterically. Yeah. This just maniacal
it's kind of like
guy.
The Blind Side.
Exactly.
He's just going to town.
Except he's crazed out of his mind, and this is
he's a guy who I would hate, or actually I do hate, but if he's on my team, I'd love. I'd be like, yes, George Kittle is so awesome.
His character just transcends the fact that he plays the 49ers, and I hate that organization. For me, I love the guy. I think he's awesome. He's easily the best blocking tight end in the league, and I think he's the most complete tight end. No,
he's nothing special. He's not like a Gronkowski where he's just a physical monster.
But he went to Iowa, those Midwestern colleges. They just know how to block.
Shuck corn and toss hay. So
that's right.
So no, good for him. That's awesome. Luckily, the Seahawks don't have any tight ends that are on that level, so they don't have to worry about signing.
But we do have like 17 tight ends. We got Colby Parkinson, Will Dissly, Greg Olson, Jacob Hollister, Luke Wilson. There's another one that I'm missing. It's like I don't know how many we're planning.
Dissly?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how many we're planning on carrying on the roster, but
well, probably 4. Yeah, I think we'll see how that all plays out. But yes, so Kittle's awesome. Yes. Not for us, but he's just awesome in general. Moving on to a change in a kind of a major change in terms of a sports personality moving from one organization to another, an NFL Hall of Famer, one of the best to ever do it. Deion Sanders moved from NFL Network to Barstool Sports. And this was after, because Deion used to work for CBS Sports, and I think he was on like the NFL Today. He wanted a $2 million deal. They said no. He went and played in the NFL for 3 more years. Didn't do all that well. Came back, worked for NFL Network, and NFL Network wanted him to take a pay cut. He said bye, and Barstool was like, hey, Dion, do you want to come host a show once a week called Primetime or something like that? And he's going to do Sunday shows. He's going to be a regular guest on Pardon My Take, all the other Barstool podcasts. I think this is a great move for both parties involved.
It's great for him because he was always a prime candidate for a good soundbite, and that's with the limitations of a network television program.
That's owned by the sport you're talking about.
Exactly, and now he's at Barstool where there's no filters.
It's fair game.
You can say anything you want, and he's taking it seriously. I mean, whoa. Settle down there.
That was loud.
His work ethic, I don't think I really had a full grasp on how impressive it is still in his career, being an analyst and a broadcaster and everything. And he's coming out swinging. He's wanting to be the employee of the week every week. They're at Barstool, which is an award that they give out weekly. So that'll be something to look for. But no, I think it's a great fit, a great marriage, and I can't wait for football to get started so that I can hear him joining Big Cat and PFT on Sunday nights. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be a really good time. I agree. He's a guy who he talked about. He wants to cultivate the next generation of sports fans, really target that 18 to 24 market, and that's what Barstool already has. They have probably the largest amount of 18 to 24-year-olds, specifically men, who they directly want to target, and Deion Sanders is the perfect representative for them to continue to expand that base, but then also suck in those 12 to 17-year-olds who are then going to be moving into that 18 to 24 range. And I mean, I don't think if they wanted to, I don't know how much he's getting paid. I don't know how much he made at NFL Network, but if he was making $1 million for CBS 10 years ago, imagine what he was making for NFL Network, and imagine what now he'll be making for Barstool. I mean, he has to be in the multiple of millions of dollars a year, and he's only having to host a show once a week. And then the other times he just goes on and just talks and just has a good time with it. And I've always liked Dion. I think he is a solid analyst. I think he's an awesome personality, and I think with Barstool, the ability to say what you want, and he's also a pretty funny guy. He's a guy who's easy to listen to.
He's really easy to listen to, and this gets thrown around a little too much, and just like everything else that we use in today's lexicon, but he is actually real. He's transparent. He's no BS. And he calls it how it is, and now that he has the freedom to do exactly that without having to look over his shoulder at some of the peers or the higher-ups, just being like, hey, Dion, watch what you're saying, I think it's going to truly unlock his potential.
I agree, and I think, so Aaron Rodgers came out and he talked about how he hates sports media right now, and he specifically, you mentioned that he said First Take without actually saying First Take, and he hates the clickbait, he hates the debate-style shows, he thinks that it's all designed just to spew the hottest take to get the most clicks and to gain the most popularity with what's going on. And I think he's 100% right. And that, to tie that into Dion, it's the exact opposite. Deion Sanders, I've never heard say something that I don't think he actually believes. Right. And he's not a guy who just goes out and he'll tweet something and it's like, Dion, come on, man. And so, but I think Rodgers has a really good point. I think the debate style shows when it's not your actual takes, when you're saying something that is so outlandish and so ridiculous that you just have to, that not just the casual sports fan, but the actual sports fan who's like, I know that's not real. Like, I know you can't actually think that because nobody else in the world thinks that.
It's kind of ridiculous too, because Rodgers was talking about this on Kyle Brandt's new pod with The Ringer, but Kyle was talking about how those shows like Undisputed and like First Take, they absolutely rake in the ratings, and it's an indictment on the viewing public and the consumers.
Wait, Americans are idiots.
It's awful.
I love this country, but Americans are so dumb sometimes.
I mean, it completely coincides and aligns with the fact that we spend all of our time watching Facebook videos, or the fact that TikTok has blown up to be what it is. So it follows suit with the fact, that a show like First Take absolutely rakes in the ratings, and that's something that I kind of liked in high school, and then I turned like 17 and grew up and was like, hey, actually this is pretty stupid.
This is dumb.
And that's when I think it was a better show than it is now, but I guess that's just my opinion. But it's sad that those are the shows that do get all the attention.
And then the really good ones with the good hosts get axed because they might provide the best analysis, but they're not the most passionate, most interesting people to listen to. But Rodgers was in the headlines all over the place over the last week.
Why was that?
Without getting into too much detail, Olivia Munn was interviewed, his ex-girlfriend, and she had not just a little bit, but she had a lot of it to discuss about a former sex life. She never said Aaron Rodgers, but sports media, sports fanatics, the world is just saying that she discussed Aaron Rodgers because there was a lot of negativity about somebody's performance, and imagining it being Aaron Rodgers, I think, provides a lot of good information for Bears fans to kind of make fun of him on, but also for just fans to be like, Aaron Rodgers is one of those guys who it's hard to really like him right now. In my opinion, I think he's kind of become on a different level of cockiness, and it's like, dude, you haven't really done much.
See, I'm completely the opposite. I like Aaron more now than I ever have.
Even though he has poor performance in certain areas.
I'm not here for that kind of slander. Maybe he was just on to the next one already. All right, we don't know. Those actors, you never know what you're getting.
He's
Who
done
knows?
well with Danica Patrick and then with Olivia Munn. I mean, he's doing something right. I mean, maybe it wasn't him because how is he getting these two if he's not decent?
Right.
And
money.
Things.
I mean, he's a really intelligent guy. He's really thoughtful. He's well spoken.
Definitely gets good insurance through State Farm. There's not a doubt in my mind that his insurance
he and Mahomes
isn't
both.
the best.
The benefits for Rodgers, especially on the insurance side, are more than enough to get just about anybody he wants.
Fair enough. Brett Favre was also asked about Aaron Rodgers. Haven't heard his name too much recently. He doesn't love the media attention anyways, but it seems like he might because he just was talking about Aaron Rodgers and with Jordan Love being drafted by the Packers. He was like, so what's Aaron going to do? What's Rodgers' next step? And Aaron Rodgers was like, Brett Favre was like, I wouldn't mind seeing Aaron Rodgers leading the Chicago Bears out onto Lambeau Field. And he said, I would love to see that. And it's like, I don't know if Favre wants to alienate the Packers fan base, but I feel like this could do it. I feel like this is something that you only say if you don't love the organization that you played for.
I'm here for it. I think that would be an awesome twist in the twilight of his career because the Bears have like a pretty good surrounding roster and they have some confident pieces around. So if they could get somebody that could throw the ball accurately more than 5 yards down the field, who knows? It might be a good fit. Yeah,
I think so too. One quick thing here, Will Kane, we're going to just quickly mention another person who moved on to a new location.
Another person that has left ESPN and gone elsewhere where the grass is seemingly, and by all accounts, greener.
For sure. I completely agree. Will Kane had a very, very good show on ESPN, very good ratings. They wanted to keep him. They offered him a contract. But I think it's a combination of the environment at ESPN in terms of both the shows that they want to keep, the viewpoints that they show and that they maybe stand behind more. And Will Kane, I think, was done with that. And he's not the first one who's been done with something like that. But he is leaving ESPN to go to Fox, not Fox Sports, but Fox News. He'll be working for Fox and Friends, which is a weekend show in the mornings. Very interesting move for a guy who, in all accounts is, when you have a top sports show, there's not many guys out there who have gone from sports to politics and survived.
And then before that, lawyer to sports.
Yeah.
To politics. So, definitely an impressive resume.
I mean, I don't love Keith Olbermann because I think he sucks with the sports takes.
He's got a good voice.
But he does have a perfect voice for sports. But he's the only other guy in my recent memory that has been able to do both sports and politics at the highest level. And I think Will Kane has... I think he has the attitude and the ability to talk politics in a controlled environment. But he's trying to target that audience that both Dave Portnoy and Joe Rogan have hit recently, kind of combining the sports and the politics into one.
Mm-hmm.
And Will Cain said, he's like, I'm going to go to Fox, and I'm not going to just talk politics. I'm still a Cowboys fan. I'm still a sports fan. I'm still going to talk about sports on that show, and I'm still going to be active on social media about sports. So I think it's cool seeing a guy want to do something else different. And he's always said his biggest passions are sports and politics. And so ESPN, I think, is struggling, keeping their highest talent. Will Cain is one of those guys. But, I mean, there's been a long history over the last 5 years, a laundry list of guys who have decided to leave, going from Colin Cowherd to Will Cain, kind of some of the big names. But then they've also been shedding some of their really good personalities, in my opinion, that is just very surprising.
For people that they have in the wings that don't
so
really
bad.
like Zubin Mehenti.
So bad. He's so bad.
I don't think he's awful, but I'm not like, hey, give him a 3-hour radio show 5 hours or 5 days a week.
Because there's definitely guys who they should have done a better job of keeping, and guys who they let walk, who it's like, all right, well,
and like
you're
Keyshawn
lost.
Johnson too, who is always the weakest link on NFL Countdown on ESPN. And yeah, he's there with Zubin. It's like, who decided this pairing?
It's very shocking. So, speaking of idiots and speaking of bad decisions, we have a new segment introducing.
New segment.
Was that your?
You didn't even have to pre-record it live. Boom. What's up?
Yeah, exactly. You said Keith Olbermann had a really good voice. I think he'd be ashamed to hear that. But I appreciate the attempt. No, that was good. So
I've seen what makes him cheer.
We have a new segment that we will be doing every single week, and it is called Jabroni of the Week. And that is our new fun segment. I'll go first. I have a nice little video to show that happened a few days ago to a rival of the Seattle Mariners. Oh, what a hit. Oh, that thing's gone. Oh, no, just kidding. Just going to be short. Oh, he has it. Okay. And he hits it over the wall.
He didn't even like hit it. It's like when he squeezed the glove, it just happened to usher the ball out perfectly.
He's like 8 feet from the wall.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even like he was jumping and, had it in his glove. Like, I mean, look at this. I mean, he's nowhere close.
He was very out of position, too. Like, his body was not where it needed to be for that catch.
In very wrong ways. I mean, look at this. He has it. It's right there. I mean, it's not even like it hits off the heel of his glove.
It wasn't.
That hits off of the part of your glove that is supposed to be soft and help you collect the ball. Yeah, he's pretty upset with himself.
Yeah, that's tough.
I would be too. And he's actually a pretty high prospect for the Angels, who's been a pretty decent player. So, yeah, that's my jabroni of the week. That was a pretty bad play on his part, but maybe he'll get it next time.
Okay, so my jabroni of the week, nice first little addition there. I like that. So my jabroni of the week doesn't even require video or highlights because all you have to do is tune in to any NBA game. Why does every player in the NBA still jump at three-point shooters? They foul them all the time. And it's the dumbest thing, especially now when there are moves that are trademarked by guys like Luka and Harden that everybody uses to goad the defender into fouling him. It's like they do it, and it's like you're just letting them off the hook every time. And Stan Van Gundy, who is now becoming the Tony Romo of color commentators for the NBA, he has to talk about it every game, and it just blows his mind. And I cannot even imagine how just frustrated the coaches are. I mean, going into their next timeout, it's like, are you kidding me? You're just giving these guys 3 points every time. And it's like, of course, a lot of these shots are also going in. So now the 4-point play, which used to be so rare, is happening at a more frequent occurrence. And it's just, I don't understand it. The risk-reward ratio there is just not worth it, because how many times do you actually block a jump shooter?
You can't do it in 2K at all.
Well, can't do a lot of things in 2K. I can't do a lot of things in 2K. But anyway, so it's just, my jabroni of the week is everybody that lunges at a defender, at somebody that's chucking up a three. It's so stupid. You're never going to block the shot anyway. And if you do, guess what? It's probably going to go out of bounds. It's going to be off you. They're going to get the possession anyway. It's not like you're going to scoop the ball up and take it the other way. It's just like, there's no reason to do it. It's so stupid. And the way that the refs call it now, too, is just like you're leaning into the offense even more. It's ridiculous. So, hey, stop lunging.
Just close them out. Just close them out. And because as a shooter, you're still going to be thinking, even if that guy isn't jumping in your face, if a guy's running at you, in the back of your mind, you're like, this guy could still jump and block me. So you're still going to be shooting it as if he was going to come up and block you. So I think that's a great take. NBA players obviously are not good on defense anyway, so they should probably do something that's really easy to fix, and that's not foul 3-point shooters consistently.
Just figure it out. It's the dumbest play in the NBA, or one of them at least.
Definitely one of them. So, and now on to our segment that we've had for a few weeks, the closing time. You go first since you just finished with yours. I'll finish off.
Yeah, this is kind of a generic one, but it just seems like it's all come to a head in the last week. But just the Houston Asterisks.
I love
Houston Astros.
Yep, that's awesome.
Just the fact that, I mean, they're 8-10. I think they're third in the AL West right now, so it's not like they're having an appalling season. It's not exactly what you want. But Jose Altuve, man, just he in particular, he has just been obviously dragged through the mud, and he's at the butt of every joke, as he should be.
Thank God. I hate Jose Altuve. I hate playing him.
He's only had 14 hits and 75 at-bats this year, batting 187. And I just saw him, I don't know if it was last night or the night before, but he struck out so hard that the backswing of his knocked the helmet off. And
that's never a good look.
He just looked like a jackass, even more so than he kind of already does with his stature.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Yeah. And I'm not sure what the name of the player was, the outfielder for the A's that went to first base and then got into it with a heckling Houston Astros coach who just got suspended 20 games.
Yeah, it was their bench coach.
Yeah,
like, it's not even like just some staff member. Like, this is like the second in command almost for the clubhouse.
And so then the A's player, Ramon Loreno, charged at him in the dugout, and then the heckler, the coach, didn't even have to fight the guy because the players got in the way. It's like, hey, man, if you're going to start this beef, you're going to be tossing the hands. Yeah, no, I don't think that's – I
guess that coach, the player said that the coach said something bad about his mom.
Yeah.
It's like this is an
Which
adult.
is where all good beefs start. But, yeah, no, I'm down. I mean, I don't like the MLB a ton anyway, so if you give me a little player on coach fight action, I'm all about it.
All in. No, that is funny because, Joe Kelly, who kind of sparked this whole thing this season.
Who is basically our Lord and Savior. Everybody's got to love Joe Kelly.
Joe Kelly is our mascot, I think, of the locker room. I think the locker room, Joe Kelly's. I think
we need a fat head, actually. Joe Kelly fat head.
Big Joe Kelly fat head. He talked about how they're snitches and how they don't have to get fined and they don't have to lose games because of it. And he makes a good point. But no, my favorite moment in Mariners Astros history was a few years ago. I don't know how I caught this on the broadcast, but there was a guy who was heckling Jose Altuve from the stands. And all of a sudden it comes through, and all I hear is, "What size shoe do you wear?" And it's like, that's awesome. Poor little 5'6". What does he weigh here? 166, 5'6", 166.
Yeah.
And that guy's a professional athlete.
Yeah.
Don't know how that happened, but I'm happy to see he's not playing well.
Yeah, he's really not.
Good. Astros.
Can't imagine why.
Astros can suck it for sure. So
might be harder to guess than it is to actually know.
Yeah, really. My closing time is essentially just saying bring back college sports. I think it's ridiculous that the college football conferences are deciding not to play college football, mainly because I think it's hypocritical. First off, they talk about how it's not as safe to play college football because of all of the close contact. Well, first off, they've been practicing for multiple weeks now, and they've had very minimal positive tests. And second off, they go to school. They're in classrooms. They are already doing in-person schooling at these universities, or will be doing in-person schooling at these universities. And nobody thinks that that's an issue, yet playing college sports, I guess, is. And that's one thing that really, and actually Nick Saban came out, and I don't really love Nick Saban. I think he's an awesome coach. I actually love him now. I think he's an awesome guy because he comes out and he says that he's going to be criticized no matter what he says, that he has around a 2% positive ratio on his team right now. And that's a lot, and he makes a good point. It is a lot higher than it is in society. And he said they can get it anywhere, whether they're in a bar or just hanging out, and that we act like these guys can't get this infection unless they play football. And he's 100% right.
Yeah.
And I think that's ridiculous that we kind of discussed this earlier. You're taking away athletes' dreams. You're taking away jobs. You're taking away a huge section of livelihood for people just in the idea that you're helping prevent this from spreading. When in reality, you look at like the NFL, for instance, and the amount of positive tests are way lower than that in the rest of society, just like Saban said. And Aaron Torres even came out and said that it's a gutless decision by the school presidents to cancel the Big Ten, to bring players back, put them through insane protocols for 3 months, only to cancel the season before a single padded padded practice when the protocols were working is sickening. And I'm 100% on board. You have guys who have been doing everything right, and then all of a sudden the Big Ten presidents, who probably have no idea what it even looks like to play football, come through and make a decision that affects every guy on scholarship and the university as a whole, and then the rest of society as a whole. And it's not so much because people are going to be like, well, sports don't matter because the health of people matter. And it's like, fair enough. But if we can prove that we can do this safely and we can do this without hurting these college athletes more than they would be hurt in normal everyday life, then why can't we play football? I have no idea. I have no idea why, and it's really infuriating to me because I think it's soft. I think Aaron Torres had a perfect word. I think it's gutless. I think it's not very well thought out, and they need to I just don't think the logistics fit. So we'll see what happens with it. These leagues have already confirmed that they will not be playing, so it doesn't really even matter what I say, but I think it's frustrating that they're doing it. Now it's just to see what the SEC, the largest conference in football, decides to do. And we'll also see what happens with college basketball. We talked about how how Eastern already is done for the entirety of fall. So we'll see what happens moving forward.
The thing is, like with SEC, ACC, and Big 12, like I hope that they're able to successfully actually have these seasons, but they're already working uphill just with the media pushback and the national optics of it, because in so many corners of the nation, it just seems like the media members don't exactly want the students being exposed or at risk in anything, but they're being monitored, they're being held accountable. Obviously, they're going to be more inclined to adhere to the safety protocols that are put in place if football is actually happening.
Well, they're getting tested.
Well, that's the other thing too, and it's just like, okay, so, I don't know. It's a very gray subject. Obviously, there are a lot of things to look at on both sides of the equation, but I don't know.
I also love that when media members come in and they pretend like they're doctors and that they have the best idea and best thought for college athletes, and it's like, you guys are idiots. Like, you guys have no sort of background to tell what these college teams should do.
Neither do we.
And neither do we. But when there's professional sports being played right now, and we have some of the highest levels of medicine, including our infectious disease expert Fauci saying sports is fine. And yet the college programs are like, nope, can't do it. There's no feasible way of doing it. It's gutless. I think it was soft. I think it was a decision that was made just because the pressure of them to do so. And that's coming, again, like you said, from the media, because these problems wouldn't be and they're not even really problems. These decisions wouldn't be have this giant microscope on them if media members didn't take it upon themselves to, again, go back to that clickbait and say the most ridiculous thing, or say something that they know is going to get the most views on their page, which brings in the most ad revenue, which is the only important thing in this world.
And then these media members are also coming out and saying, well, obviously this was coming. You should have known that college football wasn't going to be able to play or be played. Maybe you should have taken the virus more seriously. And it's like, well, actually, do you remember the first few months when Fauci said that masks weren't actually necessary, or that they weren't going to do anything?
They were only necessary if you were sick.
So, I mean, I feel like that had a huge hand in kind of shaping the way that we thought about the virus, especially in the few first months after the inception of it here in the United States. People just happen to leave that part out of it now because it would just contradict the point that they're trying to make. But anyway, it's a mess. College.
It's really unfortunate.
I hate it this year. It's the worst.
It's sad. I don't love college football as much as I love the NFL. If
I don't
the NFL
either.
gets canceled, this show will cease to exist because I will cease to exist.
Yep.
And so we'll see what happens with that. But that decision, we're moving forward. We're less than a month away from the first NFL game. So that's awesome news. As we get closer to the NFL season, we'll talk a little bit more fantasy. I don't know. When is do you have a fantasy draft scheduled yet?
Dude, I don't even – my people that I typically play with don't even know if they're going to play yet, just because everybody's kind of, nobody knows if things are going to be played.
So your friends are soft is what you're saying. Tell them.
Soft. Matt.
There you go.
Matt the boy, get your ish together, man. Let's go. I'll put the deposit down. Non-refundable. I'll give you that money either way, just like you asked for.
You heard it here first. We are ready to play fantasy football. I've already drafted. Andrew wants to draft. You should draft. NFL will happen. There's $10 billion plus at play in the NFL. That money will definitely be made one way or another.
Yes.
So catch us here again next week on the Locker Room, Spokane's only continuous sports show in the area. I'm your host, Justin Reed, here with Andrew Tenney again. We will see you next time.
Thanks for watching The Locker Room on Spokane Talks. Check us out on Facebook as well as our other platforms. We want to hear from you. Join the conversation by emailing us at info@SpokaneTalksOnline.com. And for more sports news, opinions, and content, follow Justin and me on Twitter.